In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my personal journey through spiritual emergence. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, I'm glad that you could join me. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and the little notification bell so you're notified of any upcoming videos. And feel free to share this video with anyone you think it might resonate with. I've really been wanting to come on here and talk a bit more about my personal journey with spiritual emergence. Spiritual emergence is a concept that has been talked about over the last few decades, really highlighting the growth and potential that can come about from sort of breakthrough, which is sometimes misdiagnosed or labeled as a mental health disorder. But really what spiritual emergence is about expansion of a person's wellness, about their understanding of themselves, and what makes them feel fulfilled. So my personal experience with spiritual emergence began in 2016. I had been working after maternity leave, and I was working at that time with a specialized mental health team. So we would go out into the rural areas, and we were actually based on a First Nations reserve outside of the city. So there are a few different precursors, in my opinion, of what kind of led to my spiritual emergence. One being that we were in this site or this space that I felt was pretty sacred. Also at that time, I had started taking a Ayurvedic type of remedy called ashwagandha root, and it was supposed to help with lowering stress levels, improving mood, and just general wellness. And it was also around that time that I had met someone online who I believe was kind of like the catalyst of my entire spiritual emergence. And you could read a lot about spiritual emergence versus emergency. There are different reasons for people having it, including near-death experiences, having some type of UFO or alien-related encounters, or even from a Kundalini awakening. It really depends on the person, but the list really could be endless. And so I had met this person online, and we had met up. We kind of gone out for a date and had a conversation, and we really seemed to click, and there were a lot of similarities between us. And just to note, this was before I really got into anything spiritual. So the term synchronicity and all that was kind of foreign to me. But at that point, meeting this person, it was so bizarre that all these sort of synchronicities and similarities were coming up in our conversation. And I'd never met anyone who I had such a strong connection with. So we finished that first kind of initial conversation, and then we were supposed to meet another time. And at that time I was in the whole polyamory thing, so part of that whole situation was he was gonna come and meet my partner currently. And that morning I was waiting for this person to reach out to me. We were gonna meet up, and then he finally was like, yeah, I'm not gonna come, I can't. He was feeling anxious. And the thing that was so interesting was that I didn't really have this romantic feeling towards this person at the time. I just felt though this huge emotional burst of anger and sadness, and I was a total mess. I think even my ex was just wondering what's going on with this person here. But anyway, we ended up having a conversation, this guy and I, and he was like, yeah, let's at least meet up and let's just talk. So I did meet up with him, and we had a good conversation that day. But the thing that kind of sparked it was as I was leaving and driving back to my house, I started to have the strangest experience. What was going on was my perception was starting to change, my visual perception. I actually thought I'd been drugged at this point, to be honest, because it was just I was driving and I was I think I've just been given a bunch of acid or something. Which isn't really an ideal thing to have happen if you're driving down a highway, let's be honest. So by the time I got home, I was just this feeling and these sensations and perceptual changes were just increasing and increasing, and it was starting to freak me out. But I ended up calling a good friend of mine who is also a psychiatric nurse, and she came over and was talking to me and was like, okay, let's go to the doctor and just check, because I'm I have to have been drugged. But it was weird because, you would think if with a drug, like a hallucinogen, you'd be like really peaking, really super high. But it just seemed like it was this instant like up, and then I just kind of was balanced at this place. So I did go to the doctor. Doctor kind of just laughed and told me like there's not a whole lot they can do. She didn't think I was going crazy, kind of her terminology, because working in mental health, it's like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, what is going on with me? But I could still articulate what was going on, which is a huge thing, at least what I've learned, between like a spiritual emergency. Sometimes it gets like so intense that people can't function, they can't like communicate properly or process thoughts, and that's where it can get a little overwhelming for some people. So after going to the doctor, I returned home and was just kind of hoping that this would all pass. And I even talked to this person kind of saying, did like you do something to me? What the heck's going on? That was just the beginning of what has now been, I guess, like a 4 or 5 year experience of my life. And it's probably gonna always be an experience of my life. But what was going on those first few months of the spiritual emergence was I was still going to work. And with the team I was working with, we would go into people's homes, do assessments, and determine if they were deemed appropriate to stay in their homes or possibly need to go to hospital or seek some other type of mental health supports. And I was really like doing the best I could to try and balance like my own experience as well as communicating with people about what they were going through. We'd range from seeing people who were going through like episodes of depression or just kind of generalized anxiety to like full-blown sort of psychotic and bizarre presentations. And what I really started to learn was some of the things that I was going through personally, I could also see were happening in the clients that I was like assessing. So you can see how this would be a little concerning to someone. But I really had to check in like every day and every moment, like, am I okay? Where am I in my own functioning? Is my mind and like my thought process being able to like move forward, or am I stuck in some sort of like delusional mindset or theme, right? Because the things that started to happen for me, I honestly even still am trying to comprehend and just trust that this is part of like the spiritual awakening or spiritual emergence that most people go through. And I love that phrase where they say it's kind of mislabeled as a breakdown when really it's a breakthrough, because it is really just the beginning. And so some of the things that were coming up for me at the beginning was this intense feeling of anxiety, which to me personally is just the sensitivity to energy around, or sensitivity to all the things that are going around us. Because remember, as per quantum physics, everything is energy. Whether it's the table here and it's just energy vibrating at a very much more dense sort of way, or because of the flames and the movement of that like heat, right? It's all movement, it's all energy. And so depending on someone's sensitivity and when they're waking up to maybe their gifts that they have, their purpose in this life, it can really impact people's ability to function. Because there were days that I would wake up in like full-on cold sweats, but like still like burning up hot. I was like completely just confused what was going on. And then I would go and look outside the window and I would just feel this impending sense of doom. Like I thought like either the world was gonna end, or it was just that it was just so open, I couldn't comprehend everything that was being shown to me at that time. That was maybe one of the more challenging parts, because I just could not understand like what was going on with me. But I'm so grateful I had a good friend who was in contact with me, and she was pretty much aware of a lot of the things. She just kept sending me like post after post of energy awakenings and spiritual ascension symptoms. And that's when I started to think, oh, like maybe there's something else going on here. Two, it can be challenging when you're maybe hearing things or seeing things that you can't really comprehend. And I feel very blessed that it wasn't so overwhelming like it can be for some people. Really what I've learned is it can be like these subtle sort of whispers or thoughts that kind of come into the mind, not necessarily really external, like other people voices, though I guess that can also happen at times. But I just really have learned to set up some boundaries for myself. So those are a couple things that were happening. Also, the amount of synchronicities that were occurring just like it was exponential. Honestly, to me, it's really quite amazing to just see how I could think something and then a few seconds later that thing might appear, or it comes up in a conversation with someone else. And even seeing the themes that were repeating in clients' lives and in my life, I thought that was so fascinating because it really touched on the fact that we are really interconnected with each other. There is no separation, even though we like to think there is. And it was around that time I really started to dive more into meditation, into spirituality, because I was starting to feel the energy in my body. I could like see and like sense these chakra energy centers and how the energy was moving throughout my body. And sometimes it was scary, I won't lie. I mean, this is kind of part of the journey, and we're gonna have to go through some things and face a lot of fears. But I would like to just add that this whole experience and what I continue to, I think, move through, it's been so like life-changing and for the better. It was because of that spiritual emergence that I started to tap into the energy work like Reiki, and it eventually led me into the shamanism and just all this personal development and healing. And it's been just so amazing to see how much my life can change and how much more empowered I have become. Because really, I think what it comes down to is us trusting what is best for us and really stepping into that place of authenticity. Because for so long, I know I just kind of went with whatever I was told to do and whatever societal programming had told me to believe about myself. But it eventually has come to a place where now I realize, hey, like there's so much more potential out there than what I had been told initially. What am I going to believe? My personal experience or what someone else's experience? And so I just want to invite you as you go through your week, through your life, to just really ask yourself, where is it that you can open up a bit more and start diving into whether it's a spiritual practice or just asking questions, being a bit more contemplative so that you can allow these deeper understandings of yourself. And if you are someone who's gone through spiritual emergence or spiritual emergency, just know that you're not alone and it is possible to make your way through. And another thing I feel is that we're in like this constant ebb and flow of life, and you might have days or months or years that are better than others, but this is part of the process and you don't have to do it alone. There's lots of great communities out there, a lot of great organizations that provide support. Let's just try to support each other, because really that is what this is about seeing that interconnection between all of us. So before you go, I'm just gonna pull a card and we'll just see kind of the message that comes up for everyone in this group. Feel free to let me know in the comments if you feel like this resonates for you or if you feel that there's something else. So the card that comes up is the Prince of Dis, and this is the lovely Thoth Tarot Deck. But I just love this card. Look at that, all that like beautiful earth energy. Here's this prince, kind of like harvesting and toiling like hard on the soil, on the earth, with this bull. Really, it's about being grounded and knowing that you have a lot more control in your life than you would like to think or what you've been told before. And you just need to trust that you have the control. And sometimes it might seem like you're alone, but you're not alone. I love the image behind him of all these seeds. And actually all these seeds here are also being planted and like growing in the soil. So everything that you go through, even though it might seem chaotic, there's a reason for it. You can trust that. So I hope that resonates. Let me know. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.